Good morning to all my favorite people. We are back today with the last installment of our fall baking. So we have one more day of baking with pumpkin, and then this series will be over and we'll start something new. So today we're going to make some chewy pumpkin snickerdoodle cookies. Yum. Pumpkin coffee cake cookies. Pumpkin cheesecake cookies, and then we're going to get back to our cookie that we didn't finish up in one of the other days, and those are our fireball cookies. So my name is Mickey. If you've never visited my channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I appreciate all of you. We're going to start today with the chewy pumpkin snickerdoodle, and I just realized I might run out of butter and I might have to go buy some. Okay, so I decided to go ahead and just go buy some butter before I started so that I didn't have to leave in the middle. So we're going to start by browning 1 cup of butter. And I'm picking up my Azure Standard order tomorrow. I'm so excited because I've got lots of butter in there. So we're going to get this melting and then we'll get it browning. Okay, while we wait for our butter to brown, we are going to prepare our pumpkin. So we want 2/3 of a cup of pumpkin. We're going to put it on a plate. We're going to spread it out, and then we're going to soak up as much of this extra moisture as we can. So we're going to use some paper towel, and we're just going to gently press it on there, and you can see that it's picking up that moisture. So we're just going to keep doing this until the pumpkin is dry, kind of like Play-Doh. And we'll end up with only about 1/3 of a cup of actual pumpkin left because we're getting rid of all that moisture. Just keep using fresh paper towels to kind of press this and get rid of that moisture. Okay, this looks like about 1/3 of a cup now. Got 2 baking sheets here that we're just going to put some parchment paper on, and I'm going to set those to the side. All right, we've got our butter all browned. So what I'm going to do now is pour it into this measuring cup. Ooh. And we're going to stick this in the refrigerator and we're going to let it cool. We're going to go in and stir it about every 15 or 20 minutes for 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, so while we're waiting for that to cool, we're going to go ahead and start on the pumpkin cheesecake cookies. So we need 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to mix our dry ingredients together in this bowl. One and a half teaspoons of baking powder. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Half a teaspoon of ginger. And a half a teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to mix all this together and set it to the side. In our stand mixer, we want to put a half a cup of butter. That's 1 stick. One cup of granulated sugar. And a half a cup of packed brown sugar. And now we're just going to mix this until everything is light and fluffy. All right, now we're going to add 1 cup of our pumpkin puree. This is a 1/3 cup measuring cup. We're going to add 1 egg. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And we're going to mix that in. All right, so now we're going to add our dry ingredients into our wet mixture. So I'm going to turn this on and just slowly add it as it's running. We want to make sure that we do not overmix this. Oops, poured half of it in there. All right, and now I'm going to put this back in the bowl that we had our dry ingredients in so that we can use our mixing bowl to mix up our cream cheese and powdered sugar. All right, so in our bowl, we're going to mix up an 8-ounce brick of cream cheese. We're going to add 1 cup of powdered sugar. And a teaspoon of vanilla, and then we're just going to mix this until it's all smooth. Alright, so now what we're going to do is scoop up our cookie dough, and I am using my medium scoop. Alright, so now what we want to do is flatten these just a little bit, and then we're going to make a well in them. Let me move you a little closer so you can see. I have a bowl of flour here that I'm just going to put on my fingers so that the dough doesn't stick as much. Just going to flatten these out some. Oop, yeah, definitely need the flour. Now we're going to make a little well in these. Now we want to put about a teaspoon of our cream cheese mixture in each one of these. So that's going to be just a little bit of a scoop. Of course, now it's going to stick to my finger. All right, so there's the first tray. I'm going to set that to the side and we're going to make the next tray. All right, same thing. We're just going to scoop out our cookie dough, make the wells in the center, or flatten them and then make those wells, and then we'll put our cream cheese mixture in there. So I'm going to try something. I think this might make it a little bit easier. We'll see. So I'm going to take about half of my cream cheese mixture and put it in a pastry bag. And use that to fill these cookies and see how that works. Oh yeah, that works great. Here we go. Wow. All right, now these are going to go in a 350-degree oven. We're going to bake them for 12 to 15 minutes. Now, if you like, you can sprinkle the tops of these cookies with chopped pecans or chopped walnuts. I honestly prefer my cookies generally without nuts, despite all the pecan cookies that we made that were delicious. And also, we have a new employee at work, relatively new employee at work, who has an allergy to tree nuts. So I do not want to add any that he might accidentally eat. So those are set for, I set them for 12 minutes to start with. And I'm going to go ahead and get another couple of trays out and get these other cookies ready so that they can go in the oven when these come out. So our brown butter is cool. We wanted it to be around 75 degrees. And we wanted to still be mostly liquid, which mine was starting to solidify again, but that's okay. So we want to add to this a half a cup of granulated sugar. And then we want a half a cup of dark brown sugar. Mine is light brown, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of molasses to this. Whoop. And then we're just going to mix this about 2 or 3 minutes until it kind of looks like sand. All right, so now we're going to add in our dried pumpkin puree, a teaspoon of vanilla. Whoa, that was more than a teaspoon. And 2 egg yolks. And that worked out because I actually had 2 egg yolks left over from breakfast. So nothing went to waste. That's great. Okay, our timer's going off on our cookies. Let's see what they look like. Okay, I think these are done now. I checked them, I checked them at 12 minutes and they were still, well, yeah, they're good. All right, I'm gonna put these on a cooling rack and then we'll get our other cookies, the other tray of cookies in the oven. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and mix now our egg yolks, our pumpkin, and our vanilla into our butter and sugars. So for our flour, we're gonna go ahead and mix our dry ingredients together. We need 1 2/3 cup. One and a half teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. 1 teaspoon cream of tartar. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to stir those together like this. So just make sure we get our cinnamon and our pumpkin pie spice and our other ingredients mixed in with the flour. And then we're going to put this in and we're going to mix it just till it's combined. So I'm going to go ahead and stir in this bit of flour that I dropped on top of the beater. And then we're going to put this in a bowl and put it in the refrigerator. We're going to refrigerate this for about 5 or 10 minutes. We just want the dough to firm up a little bit. You can leave it longer if the dough still seems too soft when you're scooping it. All right, we're going to set this bowl in the fridge. Okay, while we're waiting on that, we're going to go ahead and just mix up our sugar and cinnamon for rolling our dough balls in. So we need 1/3 cup of regular granulated sugar and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, so these have been in for, I don't know, 5 or 8 minutes. So what we're going to do, we want to use our large scoop. Oh, it's still a little soft, but it's not too bad. We're going to scoop out a ball of dough. We're going to roll it in our cinnamon sugar. We're going to flatten it out just a little bit. I think I'm just going to do 8 on this tray because the bigger cookies will kind of bake together if you put them too close. All right, so these are going to go into our 350-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. And I'm just going to make one pan. I'm going to go ahead and roll up the rest, sugar it, flatten it out, and then we're going to freeze it on a tray, and I'm going to put it in my freezer. I baked all of the cream cheese cookies because of the cream cheese. And also these I'm going to make into smaller cookies, the rest of this dough. And actually, I think I'm going to put this back in the refrigerator for a few more minutes, because it's getting kind of soft. But when that comes out, I'm going to finish rolling all of it up. I'm going to put it on this sheet, and then I'm going to put them in the freezer. When they're frozen solid, I'll put them in a baggie with the cookie name and the baking instructions. Alright, let's, oh my goodness. Okay, I should have only put 6 cookies on there, but they are not done yet, so let's give them a couple more minutes. And we will get back to scooping our pumpkin snickerdoodles, the rest of the dough I mean. Alright, so these definitely all bake together because they are ginormous. So I'm glad that I'm scooping the others into a little bit of a smaller cookie. So we're going to set those to the side and let them cool while I finish this. And then we will get started on the next recipe. Okay, so we ended up with 12, 13, 14, 15 more cookies that are a little smaller. So I am going to take these and put them in my big freezer, and then when they're frozen solid, we'll move them to a baggie. We're going to go ahead and start now on our pumpkin coffee cake cookies. So we're going to go ahead and mix our dry ingredients in this bowl. We want 3 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to add 2½ teaspoons of our pumpkin pie spice. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt. Stir that up and set it to the side then, and we'll go ahead and start on our butter and sugar. We're going to melt 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks. While that's melting, we're going to go ahead and get our sugars in our stand mixer. So we need 1/2 cup of granulated sugar and 1½ cups of packed light brown sugar. We're going to pour in our melted butter, and then we're going to mix that until it's all blended up. This recipe also had us dry out the pumpkin. So I've had a third of a cup, I had 2/3 of a cup here to start with. We've got it all dried out, and now it is about 1/3 of a cup. We're going to put that in our mixer. We're going to add 1 large egg. And 1 egg yolk. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla to this, and then we're going to mix it all up. All right, now we're going to mix our dry ingredients in with the wet. In this little bowl, we're going to mix up our streusel topping. We want 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of light brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and 1/2 cup of softened butter, which is 1 stick. And we're going to mix this all together with our stand mixer. Our hand mixer. So I'm going to use my medium scoop. Scoop out a ball of dough. We're going to use our small scoop to make an indention in these. Like we did with our cream cheese cookies. And this should be a somewhat shallow indentation. If you make it too deep, it's going to break through your cookie after it bakes. And then we're going to fill these indentations with our crumble mix, or crumb mix. And I am going to go ahead and bake all of this batter as well, since it's got the crumb mixture in it. I think it won't be as easy to freeze as just the plain snickerdoodles. Alright, so we're going to put these in our 350-degree oven now for about 12 to 15 minutes. While those 2 trays bake, I'll go ahead and make up the rest of the dough and have it ready to go in the oven when those are done. Alright, the timer's going off, so let's see if these are done. Oh, they look really good. But I don't think these are done. Here's what those look like. We'll get these next 2 pans in. While we're waiting on the rest of those to bake, we'll go ahead and make up our vanilla drizzle. So we need 1 cup of powdered sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 1/2 tablespoons of milk. And I'm using cream. And then we're just gonna whisk that all together until it's mixed. And it looks like we need a little more cream. We want this a little bit runny because we're just going to drizzle it over our cookies using our whisk. Oops. Our last recipe of the day is going to be fireball cookies. These start with just a basic snickerdoodle cookie. In fact, the recipe that I found actually has you buy a packaged cookie mix. I am going to actually make mine, but you can do that if you like. And actually, I'm gonna double it because I have a friend whose favorite cookie is snickerdoodles, and so I'm gonna make some that are just plain snickerdoodles and some with the fireball in them. And it's a good thing this is our last recipe because this is the last of the butter that I went and bought this morning. I have like 2 tablespoons left. So I'm really anxious to go pick up my Azure Standard order tomorrow. So now we're going to add 3 cups of granulated sugar. And we're going to let that cream together for about 4 or 5 minutes until it's nice and mixed and creamy. We want to make sure that all the butter and sugar are well mixed. We want to scrape down our sides partway through to make sure that everything is getting mixed in there. All right, gonna scrape down our sides again. Whoa. And now we're going to add 2 eggs. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And then we're going to let that mix another 2 minutes or so. I forgot I was doubling this recipe, so I need 4 eggs. And 2 more teaspoons of vanilla. Whoa, that's probably plenty. And we'll go ahead and mix this. Okay, I'm going to add all of the dry ingredients at once. This is what I typically do when I'm baking. I don't always mix them in another bowl. So for the doubled recipe, I need 5.5 cups of all-purpose flour. teaspoons of cream of tartar. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I'm going to start this mixing slow. Oops. So I don't throw flour everywhere, hopefully. Okay. I'm going to clean off this beater, and then I'm going to put about half of this dough in this other bowl, and then we'll put this back on the mixing stand and we'll add our fireball. We're going to add about a tablespoon of our fireball to our batter, and then we're going to go ahead and mix that in. So we're going to add about 3 tablespoons of cinnamon. 3 tablespoons of cinnamon. I think that's what it says. Yes. Shoot, and I lost count. This is my teaspoon mix. I'm going to go ahead and stir this up. Okay. I have to figure out where I'm going to put the rest of these already baked cookies. So let me look around for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to do just 1 tray each of the plain snickerdoodle, snickerdoodles and the fireball snickerdoodles. And then I'm going to roll up the rest and freeze it. So these are our fireball cookies here. I'm using my medium scoop. Here's our regular dough. Same thing, we're just going to ball these up, roll them in the cinnamon sugar, and put them on our pan. Alright, now these are both going in the oven for about 9 to 11 minutes, 350 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and keep scooping these out. Oops. Rolling them in cinnamon, and I'll put them on this parchment paper covered cookie tray, and then we'll freeze them. And then again, once they're frozen solid, you can take them out off the tray, and put them in a baggie with the name of the cookie and the baking instructions. And then you just bake them straight from frozen. I've had good luck with all of my cookies that way. Okay, now I just have to make sure that when I put these in the freezer, I remember where I put which cookie. All right. Plain snickerdoodle, fireball snickerdoodles. All right, we're gonna let those cool. The fireball snickerdoodles have a frosting that goes on them, so we will put everything together once these are finished cooling. The frosting for these fireball cookies is similar to a cream cheese frosting mixture that we made for something else a few weeks ago. Since I've only got a dozen cookies here, I'm just going to use this. I'm going to pour a little bit of Fireball in it. Since I didn't make the whole batch of cookies, I didn't want to have all of that frosting that we weren't going to use. Now, when you make the regular recipe, you put this in a piping bag and you do a little swirly on it. I'm just going to kind of drizzle this. I'm going to add a little more Fireball. I'm going to just drizzle this over these cookies. You'll be able to see in the recipe that I add in the description box what the actual cookie should look like. But like I said, I don't want to have all that frosting left over since I didn't make the whole batch. So I'm just going to drizzle these and they will be just as good and just as pretty. Alrighty. Actually, I think I might just kind of spread it out like a glaze. There we go. So that's going to do it for the fall baking series. This is our last one. I'm kind of sad, but we have a lot more things coming up. I'm going to do some things prepping for over the winter. So we're going to do some canning. We're going to do some more freezer meals. We're going to get things ready so that we will have lots of things ready in our freezer that will be easy for us to just pull out and eat. So we've got our pumpkin cheesecake cookies, our pumpkin snickerdoodles. These were the giant ones. I only made 6 or 8 of them, I don't remember. Scooped out the rest, prepped them, and they're in my freezer. When everything's frozen solid, they'll go in a baggie. Pumpkin coffee cake cookies. I did try one of those, so I need to finish that piece, and they were delicious. Our Fireball cookies with the cream cheese frosting, and then we've got some plain snickerdoodles as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making all of this stuff, smelling all this stuff. It's been such fun doing this video series. So I want to thank you guys for watching and hanging out with me in my kitchen today. And every day that you spend with me, I really appreciate that. So I'm going to say goodbye for today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye guys.